Well, welcome to another podcast, Down to Earth but Heavenly Minded. I'm your host, Irv Risch. And if you noticed on the screen that I've got uh, an article that I just finished, which is entitled, There Are Many Ways to Get the Christian Message Out. And I just got through reading an article, republishing an article uh, by Mr. Brooks. And let me just share what I wrote on it. There are many ways to get the Christian message out. I finished republishing this wonderful article by Cyril H. Brooks entitled The Early Days of the Gospel Broadcast in the Philippines. This gave me the idea to write this paper, seeing as I remember much of history mentioned in this article. I was born before TV, and I grew up. I remember having only a radio to listen to. The years of radio were a way of reaching the masses of people with the gospel of Jesus Christ, the good news of salvation. Many Christians took advantage of this media because it was a great way to reach people in long distance. Let me quote a statement from this article that I'm talking about. In the article, and this is another article that he was talking about, in the article, Echoes of Service, March 1959, from which these facts are taken. It is stated, we believe the pioneering efforts of Mr. Gook, G-O-O-K, I'd never heard of him, and his helpers were one of the things which encouraged the erection of the HCJB, which was a radio station, in Quito, Ecuador, which went on the air in 1931. This was 7 years before I was born, but I remember how popular radio was while growing up. Some Christian preachers and missionaries used this method to spread the gospel and teach Christian doctrine over the airwaves. And this was all done through the 1930s. 2 years before I was born, in 1936, Mr. Brooks took over a radio station in the Philippines where war was on the horizon. Back then, there was no charge for using the airways. The year I was born, in fact, and I was only about 3 months old, when they started charging religious programming. This made Christians rely on faith to provide for the cost of the broadcasting. You may remember this was all going on before the days of tape recorders, so everything was live. The most interesting thing that jumped out at me in reading this article was something that happened on December 7th, 1941. Let me just quote what he wrote. During 1941, there was usually a congregation of servicemen in the studio when gospel message went on the air. The interesting prayer and a fellowship were a great encouragement. So that evening, December 7th, 1941, we did not realize how much we were all soon going to need the assurance of these messages. Fear not, verses from the Bible. The following left the studio to go back to their ships and their stations. For some of us civilians, there was to be a Japanese occupation and interim camp. For some of them, these 3 years of war in the Pacific. For others, the horrible Bataan, the Death March, the Japanese prison camps, and the other death or missions in action. You know, that was a terrible time. Whatever happened, the promise was true. Fear not, I am with thee. I recommend you listen to my YouTube and other platform recording. It is entitled The Early Days of the Gospel Broadcasting in the Philippines. I'll also put a link in the description so you can find it. Or you can just search for the link on my YouTube channel. I guess the real reason for me telling you all of this is that we Christians now have even a better way of spreading the good news about God's plan of salvation, and also to encourage one another and to teach good Christian doctrine. We still have the radio, but now we have TV and the internet. And I feel that when it tells us in the Bible that the gospel will go out to all the world, the internet will be used to do this. Well, I hope you enjoyed this short broadcast. And I just want to encourage you that if you're a Christian, use the internet. It's a good way to get your message out and share the gospel with others. With that said, I'm just going to end this broadcast. God bless, and bye for now.